Hi there, thanks so much for joining me today. In this video we're going to be repressing a loose highlighter powder, and I have all of my equipment that I need in front of me. I do have some paper towels on the side. And I kind of wanted to do some experimenting, so I'm going to be using two different methods to repress it, and whichever method ends up being the best, I will repress that into this ColourPop Maleficent packaging. So let's take a quick look at the things I need in order to do this. I have two empty makeup compacts. These are just makeup products that I've used up in the past. I have cleaned them so that they're nice and sterilized and there's no extra makeup left in the pans. I have some vegetable glycerin. I have the loose highlighter that I would like to press into a pressed powder, and the lid for this one, this is from Wet n Wild. It was like a limited edition one back in the day. I was able to very easily pull off the lid so I can kind of just dig out of here instead of having to worry about sprinkling it in and making a big mess. I have a little Chuck Norris shot glass full of some rubbing alcohol. I have a spoon, and then I have, this is a primer from Tarte. I brought it out because I like the lid on this. It's very flat, and I don't know, I use it all the time when I press stuff because it works really nicely. And then, like I said, I have some paper towels off camera. So the first method I'm going to use is just using regular rubbing alcohol, and I'm going to put that in this container. And I'm not going to use a lot because we are experimenting and I don't really know for sure what's going to happen. I'm just going to put a little bit like that in there, and then I'm going to use this dropper that I cleaned out. This is from like an old Ordinary oil. And I'm just going to put a couple drops of alcohol on there. I'm going to use the end of these tweezers to kind of mix that all together into one pile. I added a little bit more, and I'm going to mix that all together so that it's a better, less wet type of formula. I'm going to use a paper towel and the end of this Tarte to press down, not too harsh, but just enough to get it to be a little bit flatter and kind of help that alcohol get pressed out. And then I just cleaned up the edges a little bit to make it look nicer. There was a video probably a little over a week ago where I mentioned that I wanted to try to press it into a pressed highlighter, and a lot of people said that because this is a loose powder, there is really no binding agent in it, and so it probably wouldn't repress very nicely with just alcohol. And I looked online, there are some mixing mediums you can buy. I didn't really want to order anything online. I didn't really want to have to go through all that. I'm going to try to use the glycerin. I did read somewhere that glycerin is a good alternative as a binder. I don't want to go overboard with this, so I'm just going to put like little bit in there and mix it in with the alcohol. Then I'm going to put a similar amount of that loose highlighter into the other pan, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to put a couple drops of the glycerin and the alcohol in here. I'm going to do the same thing with that Tarte primer and just press down lightly using a paper towel to get any of the excess alcohol out. Alright, so I'm going to let these sit for a little bit, let them dry, and then I'll do swatches of each and kind of tell you what the difference between the two is. Alright, so I've let them dry for about an hour and a half, and this is what they look like. This is the one that doesn't have glycerin, and this is the one that does. So I'm going to do a swatch of the highlighter just loose, and then I'm going to compare it to the other two. Okay, so if you can see, this is the loose powder, this is the one without glycerin, and this is the one with. I don't see a major difference between the two pressed powders. Maybe the one with the glycerin is just a little bit more shiny and reflective. I will say though that whenever I put my finger in the products, they did have a little bit of kick up. This one having way more kick up than the one with the glycerin. Yeah, I don't think there's like a discernible difference between the two pressed powders, but I would say I prefer the formula of this one just because it didn't have nearly as much kick up. So I think that's what I'm going to use to put a bigger amount of it in this packaging, and then I'll keep this in my highlighter drawer along with the loose powder. If I feel like I want to use that on occasion, I will, but I think I would prefer to use the pressed powder. I think it'll just be a lot less messy and take a lot less time. I might add a little bit more glycerin just to make it a little bit creamier, but I don't think it really did anything to harm the formula, having either or. I guess it's just a personal preference. So I'm gonna repress and add a little bit of glycerin to this ColourPop container. Okay, so I repressed a little bit more into this ColourPop packaging, and I made sure to press it a little bit harder this time. I'm going to show you a little swatch. If you can see there, it does look very metallic and it doesn't feel crumbly or look crumbly at all. And that's what it looks like. Very, very beautiful, sparkly, blinding. So, so beautiful. Super excited to have an easier way to use this powder. So that is how I did it. I hope this video was informative and fun, and I will most likely feature this highlighter in my next makeup basket video, so be on the lookout for that. But in the meantime, that's everything I have. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in my next video.